Alex Jackson has been an advocate for inclusion and accessibility, as he himself is a person with disabilities. I talk one-on-one with the community advocate for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Alex Jackson, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. I'm glad to be back.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you are a disability community activist and a passionate advocate for accessibility and inclusion, especially as the nation in the world celebrates the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disability Act, a landmark in ensuring equal opportunities for everyone, including those who are disabled. So tell me, Alex, what's new, what's now with you?
Well, Quintin, I've been staying busy with quite a few things within the city of Charleston. As you mentioned, we recently celebrated the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act back in July, and it was a way to share with the community how important it is for people with disabilities to have access to all aspects of life, from recreation to transportation, employment, housing. And so we're just continuing to spread the word and share the mission that we want businesses and all of our different parts of the community to realize how important disability awareness is, and how important it is to have that inclusion.
How aware is the community about disabilities right now here in the Low Country?
I think the Low Country is becoming more aware as we continue to do these types of events, as we're getting things out in the community. So I've seen over the last several years, past couple decades, that awareness is increasing and people are realizing how important it is for people with all disabilities to have access to a variety of things. And so the more we spread that message, the more we can make changes and improving policies and legislations, and making sure that people of various disabilities can feel included within the workplace, for instance, or when they're visiting Charleston, making sure that people are there to access everything that they can and enjoy the experience at the same time.
And I want to get to those in just a second, Alex. But what is the access that the disability community have right now, and what is something that they're lacking that you're working on currently?
One of the things we're working on as part of the Mayor's Commission on Disability Issues is working to improve the accessibility of businesses, restaurants, stores, anything along the sort of the peninsula area at the moment is where we're currently focusing. So as you go down King Street, for instance, making sure that you can access the entrances to restaurants and other businesses along that street and surrounding areas as well, but making sure that their doorways are wide enough for someone to go in. A lot of downtown areas have steps to get into the businesses, so addressing those issues where they may not be able to build a permanent ramp into their business, but we were sharing information such as having a portable ramp that can be placed in the time where someone may need to access the business. And so giving business owners those types of tips will help them better serve the Charleston community and allowing anyone to access their establishment.
Alex, I'm just sitting literally one block away from King Street here, but how many of these restaurants and businesses that you and your team are currently looking at that actually have, or for lack of a better word, ADA compliant?
We're still going through some of that research and don't have exact numbers right now, but that's something we're going to be working on for the rest of this year and over the next couple coming months. And so we're going to just be letting them know that there are opportunities where they can improve their accessibility if needed. And most of the time, it's not very costly for some of these types of accommodations. And so just giving them that awareness on what's possible, even for stores, making sure that the aisleways are wide enough and not cluttered with a lot of things that will make it difficult for someone in a wheelchair to go down the aisle. In restaurants, making sure that the tables aren't too close together, those sorts of things. So as we continue to do our work over the next few months, we'll be able to address that with the community and share what progress has been made from it.
And you talked about that just a second ago, but what are those other ideal recommendations that you or and your team want to see from these restaurants?
Just more inclusion and I think the awareness aspect. So a lot of the times when someone may be visiting Charleston for the first time, they'll ask or call the restaurant and say, "Hey, I'd like to come have a party of four. Is your restaurant wheelchair accessible?" And sometimes they will say, "Yes, it's accessible, but there's one step to get inside." Well, that's truly not accessible and not truly ADA compliant. So we're just wanting to make sure that we are informing the business owners that what accessibility truly means, making sure that people can access their business as easily as possible.
And I know I'm being redundant, Alex, but what does accessibility really means from your perspective?
For me, it's for me to have the ease of access to get into the building, whether it's everything from the parking lot to going in the front door,
Sure.
being able to be seated at the table or to move about on my own within the store, and then um, what's needed mostly in restaurants is the accessibility of a restroom. So sometimes the restrooms may not be fully accessible for someone in a wheelchair to get in easily. So oftentimes people with disabilities, um, like myself in a wheelchair, we have to sort of coordinate um, our bathroom needs either before or after we go to a restaurant if the restaurant does not have an accessible restroom. So it's some of those things that are the most important when going out into the community and letting the community know these issues are important, and they're in turn helping improve accessibility throughout the city of Charleston and surrounding areas.
You talk about those surrounding areas. Now, with you and your team, are you also targeting outlying areas within the city of Charleston as well?
Yes, outlying areas as well, parts of West Ashley and Johns Island, James Island, those areas, but also beyond that. So not, I've served on a couple of different groups that service other aspects of the Low Country and even across the state. So wanting to improve accessibility of our parks and our transportation options. So I know we have the Low Country Rapid Transit that's being built, and that will help allow people get from the more rural areas of the low country to the more urban areas. And so looking at things from a holistic approach is very important. Working with other government and civil engineering organizations to make sure that these things are being um, built from a standpoint that will help anyone from different aspects of the low country region.
How exactly are people with disabilities right now actually being transported from urban to rural areas without the low country rapid transit in place?
So there's the CARTA system right now has the um, city buses that will run um, throughout the Charleston County area, but there's also um, the there's another, can't think of the name of it right now, another paratransit that goes from sort of the Berkeley, Dorchester areas more into the Charleston areas. But those are some of the primary ways to get from the more rural to urban areas. There's also paratransit, which is called Teleride, and that is through CARTA as well. And so for those who will need more of like the door to door transportation services, Teleride is available for those to get from point A to point B a lot easier.
And Alex, you touched on a great point there. You talked earlier, obviously, just a second ago about the rural areas. What type of access do the people there with disabilities need right now?
I think that's an area that needs a lot more resources. So when it
Mm.
comes to finding jobs or having these bigger companies are moving into those areas of Berkeley County and Dorchester County. So providing jobs for those people in those areas will allow them to not have to travel as far to get to work. And so those are ways to improve employment, improve the quality of living for people who are further out from the the city of Charleston. And so providing those opportunities, and then secondly, um, making sure businesses may be able to provide some telework options for their employees so they can work from home if they're not able to be in the office every day, depending on medical needs or lack of transportation, those sorts of things. Just bringing that awareness to employers as well, that although someone may have a disability, they can still do the work. They just may need an additional accommodation to work from home due to some of their other issues that are related to employment.
You talk about employment. What are the ideal jobs that people with disabilities need right now here in the Low Country?
Anything, I mean,
Mm.
whatever the person with the disability is willing to do or wants to do, I wouldn't limit it to a specific career field. Um, there are opportunities for disabilities to work in all aspects of the working sector. I know sometimes the more physically labor jobs may be a little bit more challenging, but um, those jobs are still needing someone to help with communication or HR or marketing, any of those things. So you can sort of tailor your skill set to the job you need, and so just making those people with disabilities aware that these opportunities are available. Um, um, Entrepreneurship is also an area that can help someone with a disability who may not be able to do what they did before their injury, but now can create their own sort of career path and develop a job from there.
Wow. And you just mentioned a little bit of it just a second ago, but what are those top jobs right now for those people with disabilities here in the Low Country?
I would say in this area, I think um, the hospitality and tourism industry is big. So making sure that you can almost turn your advocacy into a career path. So sharing that information with different businesses, you can almost make that your own business as an advocate of being able to share what accommodations someone may need. Also working, like maybe working for a company within the Charleston area who um, is looking for someone to help with um, data collection, or if you can do some medical um, transcripting, any of those kinds of things will maybe give someone an opportunity to be employed. Just have an open mind, I would recommend, and also work with local resources in the area. So vocational rehabilitation is an available resource, or what we call the Centers for Independent Living. So here in the Charleston area is Accessibility, is an independent living center that can provide some coaching and mentoring to help you find what your um, new goals may be, so they can help you think outside of the box on what you enjoy to do and find a career that matches up with that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You talk about the careers. Obviously, most of these people are also looking for housing, and that's a big topic here in the Low Country. What exactly is it that people with disabilities need? Do they need affordable housing? Do they need attainable housing? Do they need workforce housing?
Yes, housing is a big issue, not only for people with disabilities in Charleston, but for everyone. And so, with the cost of housing these days, affordable housing is definitely needed to ensure that people can have a quality of life that's um, beneficial. And so, without great housing, they're not able to be employed, or not able to enjoy the recreational opportunities, and then with that, all the expenses that come with a disability, the medical costs, the the supplies or the attendant caregiving that's needed. There's so many other expenses that are required when you have a disability, that housing is just one other thing that we have to deal with. And if there can be some incentives from um, some legislative options where housing isn't as expensive for those with disabilities, then it can help just lessen the burden on all of the other aspects that people are dealing with.
And from your perspective as a disability advocate, Alex, what exactly are those ideal, incentives from legislators and developers?
Yes, I would lobby our legislators to help bring in more low cost housing, where for those who are um, on certain insurances, they may be able to receive discounts or even loan assistance when they're um, getting a house built or buying a house. Just working with our stakeholders in the community to um, find those opportunities where we can reduce the cost and realize how important that aspect of livelihood is to people with disabilities.
And you talk about the livelihood too, Alex, because of so much things that are going on right now. And of course, when it comes to being a homeowner, there's so many things you have to, God forbid, fix, here and there. Do you see more people with disabilities actually renting versus owning homes?
Yes, I think renting has become more of the norm lately. While homeownership is nice, there is more of a responsibility on those repairs and things that come up with being a homeowner. Um, and so you've got to figure out how to make those opportunities work for you, and just being able to find the right balance. Well, it may be easier to pay rent monthly because of all of your other expenses. It's a little bit more affordable than owning your own home. Yet at the same time, from an accessibility standpoint, it's often harder to renovate rental properties if you need ramps built or you need an accessible bathroom and those sorts of things. So it is a very tricky situation, and it's a challenge to find the happy medium there. But if there are um, home builders that will help with making some of those accommodations within the home more affordable, then it can allow others with disabilities to be able to become owners and build that um, wealth in terms of being able to have their own home and within their own family and those sorts of things.
And you talk about the families, you talk about obviously the balance. As you know, Charleston is growing by the day. So, how should the city and really the entire region keep up with that growth while actually having, being able to have smart growth, particularly for people with disabilities?
Yes, we need to make sure that there's a remembering the things that are needed for accessibility within Charleston. So um, I know there's a lot of road improvement projects that are being done to make sure that there's curb cuts and sidewalks to get to and from um, places. But we also need to make sure that as we continue to build and develop, that those same accommodations are being built in the new developments and the new housing areas. So that's going to make the future Charleston just as accessible, if not more, as we continue to build and grow the Charleston region.
This was a great conversation. I hope to continue with this with you later in the winter. But for now, disability community advocate Alex Jackson, thank you for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close Ups.
Thank you, Quintin.
Oh, you're very welcome.